Welcome back, Hot Nerd Network family. Today we are discussing Power Book 3, RaisingKanan, Episode 4. I'm your host, Hot Nerd D, and with me we have the beautiful Hot Nerd VIV joining us. So, say hi, VIV.
Hey, Hot Nerd Network. How you doing?
Right. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But before we do that, we're going to start with a episode recap to kind of get us going. So this episode opens up with Kanan's side business still on the move. However, one of his couriers gets caught. Kanan wasn't able to get him out himself, so he asked his uncle Lou to help bail him out instead. Rock brought new property, which gets the cops' attention as they are looking for a way to basically exploit her as a means of protection, or what they like to call a business relationship. Ronnie is trying to expand on his own because he doesn't like that Unique is still seeing Rock. He gets a loan from Snaps and tries to get Dean to be his supplier. However, Dean is not on board and even told Unique that Ronnie approached him and told about the proposition. Ronnie was heavily offended by that, and we see by the end of the episode just how offended he was by ended up killing him over that. Marvin and Gerald continue to stay in contact and even forge a new friendship with one another. The police are still trying to build a case and are not falling for Crown being the mastermind behind all of what is going on. This continues to put eyes and attention on everyone. We do see that girl Jukebox made the girl group, so yay for her that she auditioned for last week. Jukebox made the girl group that she auditioned for last episode. So yay, we're so excited for that. But we do still see her getting a physical done for the military, and we do see the lady that signed them, isn't as nice as she, positioned herself to be.
Wasn't it giving like TLC and Pebbles?
Yes, so that I definitely think even when Kanan later on like even refers to them as TLC, that was like a play on that as well. So we will definitely see how long that is, and it's definitely giving though that it's going to be short-lived, which I'm sad for because I definitely want Juke to, expand her music career. But as we see later on what her profession really does end up to be, this was definitely kind of always in the back of our heads that this wasn't going to last. But we could be excited for just a moment. um and then yes, so even on later on in the episode, we definitely see how diabolical Rock is. We know that she's always been strategic, and we always know that she follows through with her plans.
A mastermind, a criminal mastermind.
But she set up Kanan, putting a gun in his backpack, which therefore led to him possibly almost getting kicked out of school. And this also forces him to have to stay at the house with Rock, which ideally was her plan all along, because in a way she's attempting to protect him from trouble. But I wonder, though, if this was actually effective.
It's not. Rock herself is the trouble.
She even breaks up with Unique to solidify this, which I'm a little sad about because, of course, we have been rooting slightly for
them as a couple
together. I personally did.
Mary, no, boo.
Oh, and then we do see at the end as well that Lou and Marvin are going into business together, potentially taking over the club so that they could get more talent and money into the establishment. So this episode was filled with a lot. So I'll pause there and want to get your favorite part or what stood out to you. And then also why you don't like Rock and Unique together.
It's not, well, okay. First, what stood out to me about the episode is I think I don't know, I feel like there's gonna be more tension between Kanan and Famous, like them trying to live in an apartment together, or I don't know, Kanan finding out that like Rock gave Famous more money.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely
And he let her
interested.
in again when he
Yeah,
told her, "Don't do that no more." Told her, "Don't do that no more."
he definitely did. I think they're gonna fight about that. And then he was like writing his music as Rock walked in, so I wonder if it'll be like the first season where he has like I don't know, like another little song or something, or goes back into
Mhm.
battle rapping or whatever. I want to see that. Uh, I want to know if Lulu is gonna get like messier, or like borderline alcoholic or whatever, and really like destroy things. I think that'll be interesting. And then also Marvin and his friend from Anger Management. I want to
Yeah,
see if they're gonna be able to be like, I don't know. They're setting people up, I feel like, to really have everybody fail by the end of the season. I feel like every character has something going on where it's like, oh God, this isn't gonna go well, is it? Like,
right,
everyone's
right.
trying to get on the right path, but it's power. It's not gonna happen.
Right, right. Yeah, that brings up a good point too. Like we do see in this episode, people are trying to like create some sort of plan, create some sort of strategy so that way that they
Mhm.
can move, or try to progress and what, progression looks like to them. So even for someone like Rock, like, okay, I want my son back, essentially, or I want, for Kanan to kind of come back into my good graces. How could I do that? Well, let me potentially get him kicked out of school so that way, his protection or his guardianship could go back to me and that, he could kind of be under my eye and under my guise. Um,
Right.
so that way that she could protect him in some sort of degree. But it's like, Rock, that was a very interesting way to go about that because in a way, what Kanan is really striving for, or really he really wants in some degree, is the truth. Like, what is happening? Why do you make me do some of the things that you make me do? For instance, try to attempt to kill my own father. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, like if you do want to, protect me, a big way of doing that is telling the truth, and then letting me know like exactly what is going on so that way I can actually defend myself. Because, she mentioned that when they were talking to like the principal of the school, like, oh well, we had some trouble as of recent, and so this was just a way for him to protect himself. So, like, let's not try to make this out for him to be like a bad kid, or that
Mhm.
he's troubled, but he's just trying to protect himself in a way. And just like what you mentioned, no, he's trying to protect himself from you. Like, you are the
Exactly.
one constantly kind of put a kid, well, and then also too, we do have to hold Kanan accountable. Like, he also put himself in a lot of the positions and situations that he's in as well. But just specifically in this episode particularly, like, we do see, just how much of an influence they are on each other,
Yeah.
and how, this kind of put eyes on us on this episode, seeing how Rock, is also a bad influence on Kanan as well. And so I
Very
thought that,
manipulative.
yes, yes. And so now we're also starting to see, as we know Kanan later on, who he is and who he becomes to be, like where really all of that comes from, and how he came to be who he is. And so I definitely think that this episode definitely starting to chip away at that, because it's like, okay, like Kanan, you are seemingly, a normal kid. Like, you of course, are in this environment where you're surrounded by all of these different things, but, for the most part, still want to have some sort of normalcy. So, where does the Kanan that we know in the original Power series, like, actually kind of come in and, like, activate? And now we could see, based on how he was raised, who his parents are, exactly like how that character begins and starts to develop.
I think that's like a very interesting point you make about how Kanan from this series becomes the Kanan that we do see like in the actual Power series. Because I feel like the character who he was to Tariq in Power, like, kind of draws that parallel. Or
Yeah.
I guess, like, there's parallels between the Tariq that we see in Power and Kanan himself, because they were both, like, I don't know, scurrying around, like, trying to see what their parents are doing.
Mhm.
And it's just like, okay, you can't. I feel like if you run a drug ring, like, you can't hide that from your kids. They're gonna know. Like, who I don't know. I just feel like it's hard to grow up around your parents and you just, "Oh, I don't know what they do for a living." Like, what? No. I feel like it's crazy that Rock is trying to, like, hide it, or that she tried to hide it from him in the first place. And then I guess this season, seeing her out of the game, I don't know. I feel like she's still going to be manipulative and lying, even though she's not necessarily in the game. Because it's like, if that was the mentality that she had to have, working in that profession for so many years, like, I don't think that's going to be an easy habit to break. Like, the way she communicates with people and her relationship with telling the truth. I mean, even the way she talks to her brothers. Like,
Mm,
I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be all it's definitely not gonna be all hunky dory between her and Kanan. Like, oh, I'm out of the game. La la la.
right, and every time it comes up, even in this season alone, this episode, every time they're like, "Oh, no, Rock is done," everybody's like,
Mhm.
"Okay, that was cute," but, like, basically, when are you gonna get back to it? Like, if you wanna take a break, fine, even if that's even possible, but you're gonna get back, like, right to what you're used to or, like, like what you've been doing. Because in a way, okay, because did buy that property, as we know from last episode, to try and clean the rest of her money that she does or has saved up from when
Mhm.
she was still in the business. But once again, it's like, okay, like where do we go afterwards? Like, or what does this plan actually look like, you know, in the long run? Because I definitely think, I think Rock, for instance, is though like very has like longevity in her plans, but then also sometimes things can be a little bit short-sighted and a little bit quick and a little bit impulsive. And so
Mhm.
with a mixture of that just, can brew a lot of tension and a lot of, conflict. And so even with that, like, okay, like after you successfully, cleaned all the rest of your money, again, where does that lead you? And now, with even with Kanan, like now that he's home, he's still gonna find out how he how he got home. And so it's like, she definitely had big plans of expansion and trying to, in some sort of way, like retire to some degree, but at the same time, like also makes plans that are in the moment and are, basically what is being presented to her in that time frame. So it's not necessarily wrong because she always does have to pivot and adjust and adapt in some way or some way and degree. So that way she can keep things going. But at the same time, it's like, did you have to do that to get Kanan back home? Or, was there something, maybe a nice conversation
Yeah.
instead?
Nah,
So
I don't think that was the option for
I
her.
know.
Just no.
But what do you think about Ronnie? I have to ask that because we've seen his character like
Ooh,
develop, but
that's
what
her
do you
scary
think
brother.
of him in this episode?
Yeah, he's absolutely terrifying. Extremely creepy. Like, he also low key looks like somebody who, like, I dated for a hot minute. You know what? Snap. We're gonna take that out of there. We're gonna take that out of there. But yeah.
T. Okay.
No, he is extra scary. The glasses, he just be walking around all slow. Him door closing or whatever he did to the guy with the door. Um,
Oh yes, from last episode.
yes. And then the guy with the grandma, like, this episode, he's just, I don't know, I feel like he's just, there's just all the unsolved murders. That's who did it. Him. He's so scary. But I do feel like he's gonna kill Unique. I don't know, or that the two of them are gonna have to, like, have a fight to the death or something.
Yes, it's definitely gearing up towards that. He even alluded to that. He was like, "Well,
Mhm.
you know what? If you Nick's a problem, he's a problem for me too. So I'll take him out as well." And it's like, I thought that was your brother.
Right.
Why is him saying like, things are, slowly coming back together? Like you saw what happened to us from
Mhm.
last season. So it's not, a secret as to why things are the way that they are, like or as why things are a bit slower than they were previously. And so
Right. Everybody dead. Like,
it's like, why aren't you taking that into consideration? So he's like, I'm just trying to, kind of get us back to where we once were. And he's just saying that's not good enough for me. It's like, well, I don't know how to make this good enough for you. And, he even tried in the beginning to try to give him some sort of guidance in that, like, hey, we never knew Unique to be we always actually knew him to be a bit more reasonable and someone who does think about things a little bit heavily. So he's not out here trying to just be rash, or like, he's not out here trying to just um be haphazard with everything. Like he is trying to like actually build something that can maintain itself and last. And so with Ronnie, not really having that, like, bypassed that advice and was like, okay, well, if you had that big of an issue with him, then start things up yourself. Like get yourself back on your feet. And we see how that kind of quickly backfired. Like tried to reach out to Deed for, help there, got denied there. Then he tried to reach out to their other supplier, who was working with Juliana and stuff, like got
mhm.
denied there. And so he is just, maybe this is his way of like needing that sort of like reality check, like, hey, things aren't going to necessarily come as quickly as you may want them to, but if you do give it a little bit of time, we can see things actually like progress and actually grow, which definitely leads into our themes and symbolism, because I definitely think
Mhm.
something that was huge or stood out to me within this episode specifically was the importance of having a plan or having a strategy. Um, and that kind of goes into like that first opening scene when we see the courier get, caught
Yeah.
by the police that was working for Kanan. When he said like speed or going
Yep.
faster with no plan will lead you nowhere. And so I definitely think just even previously what we were talking about with Ronnie,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, with speed with no plan leads you nowhere. So that definitely ties into what we were just talking about with Ronnie and Unique, because he definitely wants to go somewhere fast, or just wants things to quickly and go back to normal or go back to what he was used to. And
Mhm.
Unique is like, that's not how this works. Or I understand, like where you're coming from and wanting, things to kind of get back to normal, but there's a process on how we have to kind of get back to that. And that's something I think Unique knows very well and is able to adapt to, but that's not something that, Ronnie actually is able to do. So, what were some
Yeah.
other examples to you, or even just expounding upon that, like the importance of strategy or planning that you saw in some other characters during this episode?
Well, I guess since we were just talking about Ronnie, I think because he's transitioning from being in prison too, like, I don't know, I feel like he's not taking the time to like sit and adapt to where he's at now. It's just like, okay, you've been out of jail for 2 days and you're wondering like why things aren't the way that they were. Like, I don't know, man, relax, adapt to the change, come up with a strategy. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like that was such an apt analysis. The same with Rock. Like, okay, you're out of the game. What does that look like? What are you gonna do during the day? So now that you're a landlord, what are you gonna do like with your time? And instead of like, I don't know, driving around in the Range Rover, like whipping the corner boys into shape or like whatever the hell goes on. Like, I don't know. But ooh, Kanan too. Even him. I feel like he's the only person who is kind of coming with a strategy.
Mhm.
With the couriers or whatever, he's trying to manage those problems and adapt and have like a better strategy for expanding into Manhattan with the bike deliveries. I think he is. I think Jukebox is doing pretty good with her like strategic planning, like, okay, I'm gonna join the military, or
Mhm.
like I'm gonna join this girl group, but if that doesn't work out, I have the army to fall back on.
Yep.
And then we even see Marvin trying to like get himself together a little bit and like run the club with his brother and like manage his anger or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I feel like they're trying, but I don't know. Some people better than others. I feel like
Yeah.
Brock
Yeah.
and Ronnie haven't really stopped to think about anything. Those are the only two characters.
Right. No, and that you bring up a good point there of like even in comparison, like why others are doing better than others or why things are working out for others versus not is because of in a way how detailed their plan is or how detailed their strategy is. So if your strategy is only encompassing, right now or what's
Mhm.
supposed to be right now, then you might be losing sight as to what can come in the future. So I definitely think Rock planting the gun for Kanan was an example of that kind of like what we discussed earlier, like where okay, you're responding to right now that Kanan's not with you right now, but when again, like when he finds out who planted the gun, like when he finds out more of these things, and even just going it back on like the things that he already knows, like how is this going to be beneficial for the long run? Because then also
Ooh,
too, this brought more attention onto them
I
once
have
again.
a theory.
Ooh, okay, I want to hear.
Do you think Rock is gonna set Famous up for planting the gun?
I probably. I mean,
Right?
just going off of her character and, again, just how diabolical she can really be. Why
Mhm.
not? Because at this point, like, Famous is for sure expendable, to her, like a lot of other people, even I would even say unique to a degree, like, can be to her. So
Mhm.
I definitely think as Famous as being, like her eyes and ears makes him like beneficial to her now. But like you said, like once all of that comes out, which I'm pretty sure it will,
And she don't need him no more. Kanan is in the house with her now.
right? She got what she wanted, but it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
now at what expense? And like what is now going to be the aftermath of that? Same with Ronnie. Like now that you just killed Dean, it's like how does this make, somebody else want to work with you? But and then it also
Exactly.
makes me think of like another theory too, because you saw Juliana like before she got in the car, like look back at him again, like, okay, maybe this is a good idea because that could be almost like two birds with one stone. Like I could take out Unique for trying to kill me in the previous season, and then even I can even take out Rock, who is like my number one enemy right now. So
Hey, I don't understand why Rock and Juliana are enemies though. Like, what happened?
Oh, well, basically she didn't want to like retaliate on Unique for putting the gun to her head.
Oh,
And so from then
okay.
on it was just like, he's like he's causing trouble and you're not doing anything, and then like just kind of grew animosity for it since then. And then yeah, they just kind of just been going back and forth, and I remember I think in the previous season, Rock even mentioned like to Juliana, like, hey, like, like you're trying to make these big moves and things like on me, but it's like the more you go up, like, or the higher you go up, it's not necessarily about how much, like, how many punches you can throw. It's about how much you can take. And so I definitely think that she's calmed down as of then because again they don't want necessarily any more attention on themselves, but at the same
Mhm.
time she has not let go of how much she hates Rock. And so I definitely think she might even use Ronnie as a means to possibly take her out um and eliminate her as someone that is a threat to her overall.
I
But
can see that.
I just don't know how successful she will be because once again, like when you're blinded by like hate or like if you're blinded by like anger, like that can, make you
Yeah,
act haphazardly or like make you cause you to make mistakes. And so
yeah.
sloppy. And so, I don't know if Rock will pick up on it before, she's actually able to execute, even if that's the case. But I don't know about Juliana. She's an interesting character, and she definitely still falls into this like, okay, going no, going fast with no plan, can still lead you nowhere. So I don't know
Mhm.
how detailed she might take this, or even if she does take Ronnie on his proposition, how far into the planning will she go to actually make this successful for her even later on, but we shall definitely see there. Because like you said, even going back to that point, like having a more detailed plan versus somebody kind of just adapting to what's going on in front of them is a huge factor in how successful they will be later on after the aftermath has already settled, and after everything has already kind of come out. Oh,
Well, no, I didn't pause. I'm just thinking of what you said.
I thought you paused. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was sitting uncomfortably still. I'm sorry. Okay. But I agree
Yeah.
with everything you said. And I found the quote that I was trying to say.
Okay, what was it?
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Hmm.
But like,
Interesting. Okay,
yeah.
explain that or how you would use that in the context of.
So I think what you said about Juliana, like, she's not really thinking about like what her plan is going to be, what her approach is. She's trying to get other people to do her bidding.
Mhm.
And I think she gave too much away when she paused before getting in the car with her cousin. She
Yeah.
could have just got in the car and then brought it up later, or, just sprinkled little, hints about it slowly over a few weeks. Because she's not really like, you don't actually sell drugs, you don't actually have a gun. You probably don't want Ronnie to like know your face or your name like that, but you have a resource with your cousin, let him know what you want to use him for. Like, be transparent.
Mhm.
I feel like no one's being transparent with each other on the show. And it's just showing how, I guess, dishonesty breaks up, like, how unified a family unit, I guess, in the sense of the show, but just like how a lack of unified communication in an organization can be so destructive.
Mhm. Yep, and in a way, it foils the plan. Like
Yeah.
because not everyone knows everything. And so they're just going and moving based on the information that's available to them. So, once again, yes, for even Juliana, like you're just going off of the fact that, okay, like we both have a common enemy to Ronnie, but like maybe not really understanding, what the aftermath can really bring from that. And then
Right.
even the same again like with Rock, and even how the example in the beginning with the courier getting caught, like what that was symbolizing even there, like how things are going to come up, but like if you had a plan, because Kanan even I remember in the previous episodes were trying to warn them like you need to know the layout of where you're going, like you need to know like escape route, like you need to know
Mhm.
these things because it's going to be helpful like in the long run. But what did that courier think? Like, okay, I have a bike, or I have
I have a scooter, like, I can out that's
right,
crazy. He
not
really
giving
thought he
me
could
no
outrun the
alleyways.
police on a scooter, that's wild.
Right. Right. And so it's like you're going, you can't catch me in the alleyways, but it's like I can catch you on the other side, like when you get out on the
Exactly, you're gonna
street.
have to get on the street eventually. That's nuts.
So once again, it does, I think, come down to the level of detail and the level of how much
Yeah,
you're actually putting into the
like
plan.
preparation.
Right. Because you bring up a good point. Because, okay, who are succeeding in some degree? Marvin and Lou, like trying to open up the new music business, actually taking the time to like sit down and plan out each piece. Like, okay, I'm even going to have a studio in the back so that way, we can try to get some of these things, on records.
Mhm.
Or even Marvin thinking like, okay, like we even need to think about the liquor consumption because Shirley likes to pour them heavy, but we don't got the funds. We're not doing that right now. We got to water those things down. But
Mhm.
actually taking the time to think about, like not only just now, like what they would need to kind of get the business up and running now, but okay, like later on, like how this will be a huge avenue for new and up and coming artists, like how this could be, and even how they're not even trying to, sell any product and things
Yeah,
throughout this establishment. Like, this could just be a nice,
like
like,
legitimate
space,
business, not like a
right?
front.
Right. For people in the community to kind of come and enjoy the local talent and just have a good time. And so I definitely think they are like on the opposite end, not just acting too haphazardly, but actually taking the time to really think every piece of it through so that they can actually have something successful in the long run. And even when you were talking about Juke, like with her business, or like, oh, not with her business but her planning and her strategy, like, okay, like definitely still went to the girl group audition and still put her best foot forward there, but at the same time has a backup plan, like, okay,
Mhm.
like in case this doesn't go right, like what are my other options? So that is also her thinking like, okay, like I could take this opportunity now while it's in front of me, but at the same time, like I know what my other options are, in case this doesn't go the way that I want.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely like well, that's with those characters. I don't know. With Marvin and Lulu, I think well, based on some foreshadowing, like remember when what's Kanan's father's name? The detective?
Detective Howard.
Yeah, so Detective Howard, at one point, he was talking to those 2 guys. Remember when they asked to clear the room and he was in the room
Oh,
with them?
mhm.
Were those the same police officers that were talking to Rock earlier in the episode?
I don't believe so because I
Okay,
think who was talking to Detective Howard might have been like FBI
okay,
agents.
okay, okay.
They were like more just like local police.
Okay,
That's
okay.
what I'm thinking, but I would have to go back and like relook at that to see if they're just cops or if they are the FBI agents still building the case on them.
Yeah, I need to look back at that too because I couldn't tell, but
Mhm.
what they were saying to Detective Howard about like Crown and the relation like how I mean how Officer Howard was trying to throw Crown under the bus and say like, oh, because he was in the music industry, it's obvious that he was into the drug game and like
Mhm.
masterminding, all the stuff that they're trying to pin on him.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's foreshadowing for I guess Marvin and Lulu's business venture, like, being under investigation, like, even though they're not necessarily doing anything, I don't know, I feel like they're just gonna have eyes on them just because, Detective Howard put that out there to those FBI agents.
Right. Right. No, that's a huge point. I definitely did not pick up on that in that moment, but that makes so much sense hearing you say that now because once again, yes, like it's just pointing them in another direction. Like, okay, like
Mhm.
now we even have to consider, people who rap, like, or people who do music. Like, we didn't know necessarily like that there was going to be a correlation there, or that we had to kind of look in that direction. But you make that a good point where
Thank you.
it's going to put, like, they already have a lot of eyes on them anyways, but it's going to put additional eyes on the club. And even if it's not even for that purpose, uh,
Mhm.
which is going to be sad because it's like, it definitely speaks to Lou trying over and over and over again to try to get this, like his music career and like his music venture, it's like off the ground and, going towards something, and then just constantly having someone or something like impeding that. Whether it was the shooting with Sal from last season, or even Rock saying, like, I don't know why you keep trying to do all this music stuff. That's not going to happen. And then, just hopefully now, even with this, like having that club get shut down or some sort of way or some degree. It's like, dang, Lou, just like jukebox. It's like, I do want you
Yeah, oh my
to have,
gosh.
I want you to pursue your dream. It definitely, that's a good point and a good foreshadow, or a potential foreshadow for, you know, trouble kind of coming their way, even though they did not necessarily want that in
Yeah.
this.
I also feel like they need more, like, female characters or something, like, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I love rock and I love jukebox, but I kind of feel like it's always interesting seeing, like, Lulu, Marvin, Kanan, like, play off of having romantic interests, in previous seasons, even though the women always die, but, I don't know, I feel like they add a little extra razzle dazzle to the plot.
Sure.
And I also just like seeing more 90s fashion and, like, the hairstyles and stuff, like, that's always interesting for me too.
Yes, Rock, she gets her fits off for sure. I love every piece that they put her in. So that does make a good point. And, I wonder, even like when we get to our predictions, like what new characters could kind of come out of this, or could come up later in the season. But even to transition to talking more about our characters, I feel like worth ethic definitely explains a lot of their kind of moves and things that they did throughout this specific episode. So how would you describe the characters in the context of their work ethic? So we even touched on this a bit, like Kanan versus Famous, or Ronnie versus Unique, or even Jukebox versus her future. So, what are your thoughts there in terms of how they show up and how they are, actually working towards their efforts?
So, I feel like Jukebox is, I feel like she's working towards her efforts, like, every season we've seen her, mastering her craft or whether she's singing in the mirror or trying to connect with her mom in the church choir or, going out singing, like, making the karaoke tape with, her friend from the choir or, like, the girl group. I feel like Jukebox's work ethic is there.
Hmm.
Um, the same with Kanan. I feel like the first couple of seasons he was stir crazy because he could see everyone around him working and he didn't really have anything to do. And so this season we're seeing like, okay, he's organizing like the couriers and making his own business with Famous, who I think serves as a really good foil for him because Famous don't really do nothing. I mean, he writes his rhymes and like I don't know, you wanna see him do good, but it's just like he doesn't really commit to anything wholeheartedly. Um, I think Lulu, like, I think he tries real hard. His work ethic is there for the music, cause well, I don't know, I feel like he kind of walks the line. Like, cause oh, this is a selenite crystal in case you're wondering, like, what I'm holding in my hand. But yeah, like, he walks the line, and I feel like well, I don't know. I feel like Lulu is weird because every season we see him like chasing some woman, also trying to make the label work, but also in the streets too. So I just feel like it's not gonna work out with him because he can't stay out the streets or like stay sober or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
I think Marvin, like, he's a good soldier. He's not really like the person who you can ask any questions to or like who you would want in charge, but he'd be like a good first mate. That's the person that's gonna like get it done when you need things done. And then Rock, I feel like she never sleeps. Like she don't have friends, she don't have no boyfriend. Like the only thing she got going on is like I sell drugs. Only now I don't. Like so I don't know. I just want to see where she's gonna channel all that energy. Um, oh, I think Unique is like, I don't know. I can't really speak to his work ethic because I don't feel like we've seen in previous seasons behind the scenes of his organization. We've just kind of seen him like giving us fashion moments and like good one-liners and like, he's real stylish. Um, I feel like he was good at networking and like talking to other people to try and open up a new connect and get his organization going again. So I feel like that speaks to his work ethic. And then the brother, like Ronnie, we just don't know. I don't know. Like he's good at killing people, but I don't think he wants to be his organization's hitman. He seems like he wants to be in charge.
Mhm. Mhm.
Does that like answer it for everybody?
Yes, yes, for sure. And I love that you brought up the aspect of commitment
Yeah.
because like when you compare even Jukebox to Famous in terms of their music careers or just, like how much effort and things that they're going to put
Mhm.
towards it. Um like you said, like Famous will, write a few raps here or, write a few raps there and then, go back to sleep versus, someone even like Lou or Jukebox that
Yeah.
are actively going to put in a little bit more to see those things actually kind of come about. Like in a way, like you can't just write the song, go record it, and it, becomes a success. There's definitely a lot of work that gets put into that. And a huge part of that is commitment and actually doing it consistently. And I think that that is a huge, like, that's something that impedes Famous a lot is being able to be not only committed to it, but also consistent with it. It's, going after it relentlessly in some cases. And like you said, like he just is a little bit too kind of lackadaisical with everything. Like,
Yeah.
like even with the business with Kanan, like Kanan from last episode had to say, like, hey, like we need to get up, we need this, that, and the third, like in place. And if we, if we're gonna actually make this work, and he's like, I'd actually rather sleep. So you do what you do, and I'm gonna do what I do. And that just kind of let us in as viewers just as the importance it is to not only have a plan but to have some sort of worth ethic or some sort or put forth some sort of effort to actually make those things happen. And so we could
Yeah.
definitely see that kind of contrasting between Jukebox and Famous, just specifically with music. And then like you brought up of course, Ronnie versus Unique, and how we are seeing, I think, specifically in this season, more of the background for Unique in terms of how he led, while his
Yeah.
brother was away, and like why he became the CEO, or, like why those things were in place. And like you said, like he's a good conversationalist, like he's able to negotiate, he's able to get new partners. But now, also, I
Yeah.
think, in addition to that, like because everybody died from the last season, that he now actually has to put in some of that foundational work
But
too.
like expanding on your point about Unique, um,
Mhm.
exactly, he does have to put in the foundational work, but I think in the first season, remember when all the kids at Kanan's high school, like, wanted to connect and work with Unique because he was using, like, his image and fashion and stuff as PR
Mhm.
to recruit more soldiers? I
Mhm.
feel like that's a smart way to do it, like, because it was making like, the work was coming to him rather than him having to, like, go around and, like, I
Mhm.
don't know, recruit people. I feel like he was good at building a reputation, like, that first season.
Yep, yep. And now I think we're just getting a little bit more detail into, in a way, again, like how much work he is actually going to put in to
Yeah.
like make this work now. Because, like you said, like he can't just use like his furs and his chains to, attract people because there's no one in a sense like to attract.
Everybody knows what happened, yeah.
Right. And so now he's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to lean into my other skills, which is being a conversation, being able to negotiate, being able to talk to others, and then having that kind of slow build back into like how they, used to know things. And so I
Yeah.
definitely think with Ronnie, like he like may have the same sort of like capacity to lead as Unique did, or like when everything is kind of already in place, know how to like manage that. But even Unique brought up the point about Ronnie specifically in this episode, is that he's good at specific things,
Yeah,
like
like soft skills versus technical
Mhm.
skills.
Right. Like he is good in specific areas. And, putting him now in charge of everything may not necessarily be his strong suit. So, like, going even back to the point of negotiating or, working with others, his threats aren't, going anywhere. And then even when his threats, aren't or falling on deaf ears, he just ends up killing them. And so it's like he's not really understanding every aspect of what kind of work like take what it will take to actually get this back and running to the degree that they are used to. And I think like I was just saying like how they're both like in the same sort of situation on like figuring out to a degree like how to build back everything
Mm,
kind of like from the ground. And we're just seeing based on how they're responding, based on their planning, based on their strategy, just how things are going to go for them. So, Unique is able to kind of rely on those other skills right now to kind of get him to back to where he needs. But we see, Ronnie doesn't have that, or, struggles in, for instance, social interactions. Like we do see that that is a huge, struggle for him. And so
huge.
just as simple as trying to get the supplier, or, trying to get partners, or trying to get even a loan from it's like it's so much harder. But at the same
Yeah,
time, since everything has crumbled, it's like these are now necessary pieces still that we have to kind of get back.
that's true. But I think Unique shoulda gave him, like, a BS job or something to do, you know? He shoulda had him be like, "Okay, tell so and so, cause the FBI is sniffing around," or "See what detective so and so." I don't know. I feel like maybe that could be a good idea, but I don't know. I feel like his brother, you think he would get out the car and, like, kill the people he's been following? I feel like that would happen, you know?
Oh, very, like
He's like,
nothing.
"This is
We
it."
can't put past anything, for Ronnie. Like he is at this point probably capable of quite anything. And so that's also what makes him even, scarier to kind of be an enemy of, or even to a degree working with him. Because
You
you're
don't know.
uh unhinged, to a degree, and you are, you know, not even surely, but fastly, unraveling. And so we don't know, how to
We
interact with
coulda
you.
gave him a job so we could see, like, how unhinged, so that at least, like, he would have a metric of how insane his brother was and, like, know how to move from there, you know?
Right. And then Rock even hinted at that, like, well, why haven't you put him on? Like, why haven't you given him a job yet? And he's like, well, because he's good at specific things. And she's like, well, he he's still out here, like trying to, make things work for him. So it's like the longer you stall in that regard, like, the more you're opening up opportunities for him to do exactly what you're seeing right now. Like you didn't think he
Exactly.
was gonna like, go behind your back and try to, you know, get his own supply, and try to get
Mhm.
things off on his own. And so yeah, it's like you not necessarily doing that, or you not putting him on in that regard is maybe too Unique, like in his long-term plan, like maybe trying to circumvent some things that he possibly also already sees. But it's like at the same time these things are happening, and so you might as well like try to nip it in the bud now before it becomes, something that is completely uncontrollable.
Ooh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you think Ronnie is gonna try and confront Rock?
I don't for what's so interesting is like I don't know why he hasn't yet. Like her name
Yeah.
always comes up in regards to him, but he never like, and he keeps going to everybody that she is in association with. So even her old suppliers will even roll up on Kanan and Famous, all
Mhm.
these
Oh,
people,
yeah, he sure did.
but won't go to her. So I don't know why he won't approach Rob, or maybe that's his like super end game. Like that's
Yeah.
the one person that he's like gearing all this up towards to do something with. But it's like, you mention her name every chance you get. You hate her this much. And, even from the bouncer from the last episodes, with Dean, it's like clearly, like, like you're not afraid of, confronting your adversaries, or you're not afraid of
Mhm.
confronting those like you are in conflict with. But why, and it seems as though like you've been having trouble with her for years, or she was always, big competition to you. So why in the world haven't you addressed her yet directly, or face to face? I don't know that, but that begs a
Mhm.
really good question. Like, why haven't you done this, right? So I even kind of want to know what the
Yeah.
history is like between them, because it definitely gives more than she's just competition and we have to take her out. There's a lot, underlining that
There.
we just
Mhm.
are not privy to yet.
Oh, and then why do you like Unique and Raquel as a couple?
I don't even know. It's like I just like that. I think just kind of going off of from last season, how the story ended, like, okay, Unique, are we going to continue, like, hating you, or are we going to, is this going to be your redemption tour? So I feel like him being with Rock is like a good redemption kind of aspect for Unique. So that way, that kind of gets everybody back in his good graces. And I do think they're a little cute together. I think they're cute. Why? Okay, why don't you like them?
I just feel like it happened so fast. Like there was no development. It's just like, oh, you shot Sal or whoever, you shot this guy in the back. Okay, we're together now. Like, okay, I guess. I got dang. Y'all was like ready to kill each other over the corner like 5 minutes ago. Like, I
That
don't know. It was just too quick for me.
Okay, fair. That's a fair point. Very fair. It was very quick, but I felt like it was just gearing up to that anyways. Like he even dropped in previous seasons, like how he was attracted to Rock, and like, really probably always wanted her, but they were just always at
Mhm.
odds. And so he's like, okay, well, I found my end. Like, I just saved your life. So you gonna give me a chance now? That's how I saw it. So it's like, yes, quick in the development of like, okay, we literally last week were probably hating each other, and now,
Yeah.
we're together. But at the same time, it's like that also to me was showing like there was something always brewing, and he was just waiting for his moment. So he's like, I got my moment, I'm sliding in, and no one's gonna stop me.
I understand. I totally get that. And I get what you're saying about them being cute together. Cause I would want to see like they're both the best styled people on the shows,
Right.
but we don't get to see them out together. So I would want to see them like in cohesive fits or something like that. Should they take their relationship further, I'd be interesting to see like how costuming like
Mm,
styles them moving forward with that in mind as a plot point.
right.
Like that'd be cool.
That will seal the deal. If I see
That would get me on board.
in a fly outfit, that's going that's
That
going
would
to
make me like them as a couple. Yes.
love it. Okay, you heard that. Power writers, we need to see them in a cute fit together.
Yes.
I think we're gonna get everybody on board. But oh my gosh. So we definitely covered a lot today. We even covered some of our predictions. So, but did you have any other things that you think will kind of come up for next episode, or even for the rest of the season?
No, not that I can think of. I'm just excited for the next episodes and to see how everything is gonna play out. How about you?
Yes, I mean, we definitely covered lots of predictions already. I definitely think I'm just sad that this Jupe's music career being is gonna be a slow or a
Right.
fast end, but I'm excited to see, how she kind of grows from that because I feel as though like this will be an opportunity for her to kind of get more self growth and self development. So I want to see that. Ronnie, I'm tired of Ronnie. Like you coming in and like you just
He
messing up.
scares me. He's so scary.
Yeah, it's like Ronnie, he's there him he now that Unique also kind of wrote him off from this episode, now we are for sure going to see a battle between them two. Okay, I'm already choosing Unique because I can't take Ronnie right now. He is scaring me. And so it's like I don't want
He's
I just don't want
creepy and he
anything
doesn't
else.
wear gold chains and fur. Like, we know whose side we're on.
Even the bouncer tried to help him out. Like, yo, you need to, we're not stuck in the past. Like, why aren't you, dressing up for the club? And he didn't take that so nicely. He definitely got offended there. But it's like, okay, you want people to be on your side. We're gonna need some shades next time. Like we're gonna need a fly fit. That's how you get people to like you for
No,
sure.
he said, I don't need nobody on my side. I got these hands. That's enough.
Oh my goodness. And then I definitely think too. Kanan's gonna find out about Rock setting him up, and so I don't know what he's gonna do with that information, or like if he's gonna use it immediately, or if he's gonna sit on it to try to plan something, further out. I don't know,
Mhm.
but I definitely think he's gonna find out. But and then I hope too, we already discussed this that Rock doesn't use Famous as, her next expendable option.
I
I
don't
like Famous.
know. I
I'm
do
a fan of
too,
Famous.
but I
I
feel
want him
like they've stopped
to
developing his character. I feel like he's kind of on his way out.
stay. That's true. Unless he could get like a surge from, them opening up the business, their or revamping the club and then, being able to kind of get him back in the swing of music. But like we also discussed too, that will depend on um his commitment and his consistency within that. But
Mhm.
we have a lot to look forward to for even next episode and even all season. But that is a wrap for this week's recap. Thank you again for joining us today, Viv. Always fun to have you here.
Of
And
course.
if you
Thanks
want
for
to come,
having me.
yes, if you want to come back, please do. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to join the conversation to stay updated with all things Hot Nerd Network. And remember to stay tuned for next week's recap of Powerful 3 Raising Kanan. We can't wait to see where the story takes us. But until then, stay